Yo, what up? I filmed this on the 31st, but this isn't out until All Saints Day, so happy Halloween. Belated. Holla. Thank you very much for swinging by. Happy Halloween. My eyeball wants to holla at your face. Happy Halloween, y'all. Thanks for stopping by. I be that Sequential Geek, and I have got a bunch of comics. Oh, yeah. Start off, I went over to Cobalt Comics yesterday, Saturday. It's got a few $2 comic books. That's right. Punisher and Skis. There were these 3 issues from this story here. This is out of 1991, June. I think it was like June and July. Joe Jusko did the cover. Tom Palmer did the cover for issue 33. They all have that painted action cover. It's a precursor to Hot Tub Time Machine. You got like a spine tick right there and there, but once again, right, it is a newsstand. And I got a newsstand of issue number 33, that Tom Palmer cover. And I ordered a couple of newsstands of issue number 32, plus an issue of 33. So this is my second newsstand of issue 31. I just like all these painted covers here for Punisher War Journal 31, 32, and 33. It's this story arc. Marvel Universe. This ran for 12 issues, and then there was Inactive and Deceased for another 2 issues. Issues 13 and 14. Then the last issue, issue 15th, was like a guide to all the equipment, locations, paraphernalia, weapons, and such. The diagrams in all these Marvel Universe illustrations were done by Elliot R. Brown. Like, for example, the map of Attilan, the Avengers Mansion, and the Quinjet. He did those technical diagrams. I believe most of the writing was done by Mark Grunwald, if not all of it. So, even though this is a direct edition, just figured it's in this slick bag, and I couldn't resist. But seriously, the condition of this is, I mean, at least VF. So it's got nice bright pages. And that came out January, cover date, 1983. Another $2 comic books coming up is Black Panther issue 26 and 27. So direct edition. Really hard to find newsstands of these. I don't think I found any newsstands out in the wild. These Christopher Priest Black Panther comics. This is while Joe Quesada, Jimmy Palmiotti were starting off the Marvel Knights run, and actually by this time, I think Joe Quesada was already promoted to editor-in-chief. As you can see, the Marvel Knights is excluded from the logo in the upper left corner. And we got part 1 and part 2 of Love and War story arc. It's January and February of 2001. And just as in the interiors, it's Sal Velluto art with Bob Allman doing the inks. You've got the story arc where this war is brewing between, Latveria, right, with Doom, and Atlantis, with Namor. But then you also have the Deviants, which I think is interesting to note given the Eternals movie that's coming up. I've got here around 1 million years ago, the celestials of the first host arrived on Earth to perform experiments on humankind. The celestials also performed experiments that created the Eternals, but they also created this unstable genetic code of deviance. It gave them powers and abilities superior to humans. This is per Comic Vine. All right, so you not only have right Ledveria and Atlantis, but then you also have the deviants. Essentially, they're from this area that was part of the continent of Mu, Mu, and that got submerged after during one of the visits of the Celestials reviewing the progress of their experiments, and they saw how the deviants had enslaved mankind. And the only people that were able to put up a resistance against the deviants were the Atlanteans. So, long story short, Black Panther and Storm set out to help this Lemurian child find its parents. So with issue 27, you got tensions erupting between Submariner, Doctor Doom, and Black Panther, Wakanda. So those were some good deals I got over at Cobalt Comics. It was yesterday. I was trying to be thrift with my cash. That's why I was psyched I didn't spend that much at Cobalt Comics. And then today on Halloween, stopped by Vision Comics and Oddities. Of course they tell me that they got a 50% off sale. And I'm like, oh shit. It's on. I don't know. I think I got like 40 comics. I don't know. We'll find out in a minute. Let's go back to Black Panther for a second. So all these price tags you see are 50% off. The first limited series with Black Panther. So this is what you've got Jack Kirby original Black Panther run, and then Don McGregor wrote the Black Panther run, Jungle Action, and then I believe this is the next volume of Black Panther stories. It's a 4-issue limited series. Black Panther newsstand copy out of July 1988. And he has to go through this thing called the Ordeal of the White Ape. He loses the power of the Panther God. He sacrifices it to save this other African from another African fictional country. So his people in Wakanda hear about how he got attacked by a couple of panthers. They looked at that as a sign that he no longer has the support of the Panther God. And he refers to one of the priests who tells him he has to go through this ordeal of the White Ape. And he almost loses, he almost fails, and then it's revealed that some other Wakandan was using some technology to help him, essentially. So even though he passed the ordeal of the White Ape, everybody denies him the mantle of king because it's revealed that some dude tried to cheat for him. Peter B. Gillis doing the writing with Dennis Cohen art. Finished off some doubles with The Crow. Curare. It's a extract that's received from plants, alkaloid poison. So it's like a paralyzing agent. I have doubles of issue 1 and a single copy of 2 and 3. So now here's The Crow, Curare, issues 2 and 3. It's out of July and August 2013. James Labar did the B covers, and he actually wrote the story as well with Antoine Daudet. If I got that right, it's the artist from IDW. If anybody has The Crow, Death and Rebirth, issue number 3, that would help me out a lot. The James Labar cover from that 5-issue limited series. Help a brother out. So yeah, when I went over to Vision Comics and Oddities, and they said they got that 50% off sale, I was like, oh damn, so many comics. I was going through my spreadsheet, and for some reason I was checking out volume 2 issues of Daredevil that I have, and I got a couple that came out before issue 26 when the Bendis Maliev's run kicked off, but it's really the run that really got me geared up to getting back into comics. That was one of the earlier moments with Bendis that I really enjoyed, but that decompressed storytelling that he follows was waning my interest in Daredevil. I did stick around till like issue 81, the first Brubaker issue, but by then I was shifting gears and I was dropping comics again. Yeah, that decompressed storytelling was getting to be a little bit too much for me. But when later on, when Daredevil went to Paris just before the last story arc, which is right here, this is part one of the last story arc. Daredevil in Paris kept my interest, and then when this came out, it was great Malieve cover work to say the least. I mean, I was through that decompressed storytelling, especially with him getting married and then becoming some type of kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. It just they were claiming him, giving him the title of kingpin, but then it just was so drawn out and kind of anticlimactic, and a lot of depiction of him losing his mind. Right, he had gone under the strain of his identity being revealed around issue 26, and then the kingpin died. That was the beginning of that story arc with the kingpin getting killed and his wife sending him off to Switzerland, I think, to recover. So the kingpin had been gone since the beginning of Brian Michael Bendis's run, where he had some young, up and coming thug, gangsta, mafioso, had a bunch of guys stab Kingpin to death. Obviously, Kingpin survives and he comes back in this issue. This is the return of Kingpin, the final story arc with Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev out of 2005, I believe. Story arc lasted until issue 81, and then Ed Brubaker took over while Matt Murdock was in prison from 82 onwards. Got a little drawn out. A little too drawn out. Let's get back to a little classic Daredevil, shall we? Dark Wind. Yuriko Oyama's father. Daredevil number 238. Encounter with Sabretooth. Issue 238 on the right. That came out January 1987. It's an Art Adams cover with Klaus Janson doing the inks. And Daredevil 199. That's a Dennis O'Neil story with William Johnson doing the cover and the interior illustrations out of October 1983. That's the cover date. Lord Darkwind. So he's the father of Yuriko Oyama. You have Mariko and you have Yuriko, right? Mariko is the one that Wolverine falls in love with and she gets killed. Yuriko, Yuriko is the one that ends up becoming Lady Deathstrike. Mariko, her first appearance is Uncanny X-Men 118. It's got an appearance as Sunfire. But Yuriko is 197, Daredevil 197. That's right. Lord Darkwind. Who's that? Well, he's the guy that invented the process to bind adamantium to a person's skeleton. And his paperwork ended up getting stolen, which it's believed that it somehow ends up in the hands of James McDonald Hudson. It's part of the Weapon H program. It's involved with the Weapon X program, right? So Hudson, behind the scenes, is there some untold story where Hudson had Wolverine kidnapped? Had Wolverine experimented on against his will? Somebody help me out here on that info. So Darkwind's first appearance was Daredevil number 196. It's also the first meeting of Daredevil and Wolverine. Kenji Oyama. And he was a survivor of a kamikaze suicide attempt during World War II that failed. So left his face scarred, and he figured the best way to get over it was to put a blue rag on his head. Deadly genius scientist that knows how to use a sword. It's great. And this is a tie-in to the Mutant Massacre story arc that was going on around Uncanny X-Men 212, 210, around that time. Battle of Sabretooth versus Daredevil. Word on the street is Sabretooth's gotta go. Typhoid Mary. So, per Comic Vine, Typhoid Mary's first appearance was Daredevil 252, but then every other source I checked says it's Daredevil 254. And we got the second and third appearance of Typhoid Mary, as far as I'm concerned, in Daredevil Direct Edition 255 and 256. June and July 1988. And Ascenti doing the writing with John Romita Jr., cover and interiors. Has anybody seen the movie Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close? Yeah, Daredevil issue number 260. Nice direct edition copy. And Ascenti doing the script as well. And John Romita Jr. John Romita Jr. I don't know why people cut that guy down, get picky with him. His work, especially in the 80s, from everything from X-Men to Daredevil, I thought it was right on. She's got this gang of criminals that they've assembled. I looked them up, their first appearances in previous issues. I remember John Romita Jr.'s Star Brand. That was great. Hardcover graphic novel by Stan Lee and John Buscema. Kabam! That was cool. How could you not enjoy that John Romita Jr. goodness? Thank you so much for tuning in. Got so much more to show you. Hope everybody had a safe Devil's Night last night. Night of the 30th. The night before Halloween. Out into D. All the money was moving to the suburbs. So by the late 70s, companies were starting fires and using Devil's Night as an excuse to recoup money for insurance, as well as local neighborhoods are trying to clean up their streets. So they throw some Molotov cocktails in some crack houses and heroin dens. trying to get the bad guys out. Little vigilantism going on. I think it was something like 375 fires in one night by like 1990 that occurred in Detroit. So times have changed. Just a little bit over there. Joe Quesada, just before he became chief creative officer over at Disney for Marvel's television and video game productions, marketing department. He was involved a lot in their animated TV show development, especially early on. So just before he moved on and did that, he had a nice art exhibit in downtown New York. You can see some interviews and some YouTube videos on that. I think Eduardo Miranda Rodriguez, the creator of Labor Kenya, interviewed him during that exhibit. So this Daredevil Father, that art exhibit, had to do with the artwork he did for this 6-issue limited series. It's supposed to be this very personal story that Quesada invested in. His showing his love for Daredevil and this character that's unique to Marvel, that he did this standalone 6-issue limited series. I believe it's pretty much still part of the Marvel 616 because you have the first appearance of the Centurions, a vigilante team of heroes that protect Hell's Kitchen. They're this group of heroes that each have an ability that's based off of an Oroshu. I'm not pronouncing this right, but it's a metaphysical, probably magical aspect of the Centurion religion, which is an amalgamation of different types of cultures, in particular West Africa, the Yoruba religion, the Yoruba culture. And there are these Oroshus, which are like avatars for certain Centurion gods. Each member of the Centurions have a power that is based off of one of these Oroshus. Like one guy can control electricity, one girl can control liquids, another woman can control, I think, the wind or maybe just all the weather. Another dude's like super strong. So each one altogether form this, I guess you could say, kind of like an elemental power-based group, Centurions. Thanks to the art and storytelling of Joe Quesada with Danny Miki doing the inks. Issue 1 came out April 2004. Cover date June 2004. So you had a regular cover, director's cut for issue number 1, and then you had a Wizard World sketch edition for issue number 1. Issue 2, first appearance of the Centurions. Yeah, let's take a glimpse of the Centurions, shall we? Yeah, and I think that guy right there in the middle in the red, he can influence people's emotions. That woman in the background, I think she can affect the weather. And that guy on the left, electricity. And that girl right there, she can control water. They patrol Hell's Kitchen. That's their home base. This Quesada's work is just amazing. Following up Daredevil. Dark Horse Presents 5th year anniversary special was out of April 1991. That was the first part of the Sin City story that then took off from Dark Horse Presents issue 51. This is my third copy. This is pretty much the first Frank Miller comic book at Dark Horse Presents. Ran until issue 62, The Death of Marv. His first appearance was Dark Horse Presents 5th anniversary special. And so, same with Goldie. Dark Horse Presents issue 51, part 2. The Frank Miller Sin City storyline. June 1991. I like historical fiction. It's a nice VF copy, at least, of Columbus by Starlin Braxter. Art by Jack Jackson. It's a Dark Horse Comics one-shot. It's a retelling of Christopher Columbus's voyages to the new land. 1992, 500 years later, we have this beautiful painting by Sam Yeats.
She's around, she's a firm, she's a fully packed, she's around the back of my head. She's flat like your head.
It's a couple of sci-fi books for you. Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Leader 1. That's a Gary Erskine cover. And there's one first appearance of some character in here who ends up dying by I think it was only 3 issues actually, and ended up dying by the end of the story. So I just got it as a Star Wars fan and just dug the detailed, almost technical drawing-like image, the X-Wing fighter. So yeah, this was just a fan buy, cover buy. Really, that's it. So was it worth it for $9? Yeah, in a way. Just because I still have faith in the Star Wars brand that if I wanted to sell this in a couple of years, say 5 years, maybe 10 at the latest, I think I'd break even. Yeah. I think I'd break even, especially with that. Isn't there like a Rogue One or some shit coming out by the same director that did Wonder Woman? There's going to be an Andor television show out of Disney Plus. And then I think there's supposed to be like a Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Patty Jenkins is going to be directing it. That's right. So here we have Star Wars Rogue Leader. And this is a 3-issue limited series out of, 2005. Yeah, cover date September 2005. 10 Nub. This guy named 10 Numb. Numb, right? That's this dude's last name. 10 Numb. Like, do you want a pilot whose last name is Numb? Numb. I mean, did you two write a song about him? I mean, what's the deal with this guy? He's a Salustan. They're the same type of race as that one cat that was Lando Calrissian's partner and Star Wars Return of the Jedi, his co-pilot. Anyway, this cat Numb, he's a B-Wing pilot. Modified it. Well, he dies at the last part of this story. There you go. 10 Numb. Motherfucker. Now there's Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron. And that series, I think that's the one that the Patty Jenkins show is going to be based off of. That started that in cover date July 1995 was the first issue. Yeah, I think that was written by Michael Stackpole. It's here at Comic Find. Michael Stackpole and Mike Barron, two writers associated with that X-Wing Rogue Squadron. So I winged it when I got this issue of Star Wars. Didn't do much research. So I'll call it a fan buy. We could also call it an uninformed. This was an uninformed. This was like, fuck it. This was an uninformed buy. This was $9 that really wasn't well spent. I gotta fucking say. I'm glad I got it. It's fun drawing and all that out of it, but the cover. But it is $9. It is nine fucking dollars. I got it for $4.50, so I can't really bitch. But if there's any complaining that I would bitch about, it would be the fact that I didn't do any research. I really don't know Star Wars well enough. I thought that this was like the X-Wing Rogue Squadron, something related to that. But it's X-Wing Rogue Leader. This is out of 2005, 10 years after the main story, right? And I mean, it looks modern. It doesn't look like it's out of the 90s. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. I did wing it, but collect what you like, invest in what you know. I didn't know enough about it, and I can't say I liked Star Wars enough to have done enough of my research. As much as I dig this drawing, yeah, I fucked up. So when I heard 50% off, when I was at that comic book shop today, Vision Comics and Oddities, when Deirdre was like, we got a sale today, it's 50% off. And I'm like, are you? Woo, it's on. Cha-ching. I'm like, I'm getting this, I'm getting that, I'm getting this. So yeah, I broke my rule. Collect what you like, invest in what you know. And this was more like a fuck it. I'm a I'm gonna X wing it. $9, $4.50. Holla. Why not? Why not move on with a cord named Scorpio? What is this? I've seen this in other people's halls. I haven't seen it in this condition. And I looked it up, I checked it out, and this is a story written and drawn by Asad Ribic. No. The art is by Asad Ribic. He's a Dalmatian, right? That's the coast of Croatia, along the eastern side of the Adriatic. Now, the writing is by Miljenko Horvatic. Miljenko Horvatic. He's out of Zagreb. Miljenko Horvatic is Zagrebu. Esaribic is Dubrovniku ili Splitu. Ja ne znam koji grad. Ok, Esaribic is također. Također is Esaribic is Zagrebu. Yeah. Both Asad Ribic and Asad Ribic is also from Zagreb, same as Miljenko Horvatic. This cat, he's from Croatia, the capital Zagreb. I spent a year there, and that was probably one of the roughest and best times of my life. Holy shit, long time ago, over 20 years ago. But experience like that sticks with you. Codename Scorpio. Writer Miljenko Horvatic. Writer Asad Ribic. Ribic. Look at that. Antarctic Press, October 1986 cover date. It's a one shot. So when I was hunting, going through the new arrival bins, I kept finding these issues with just this amazing artwork, right? Like this Assad Ribic book, and then I came across P. Craig Russell and Mike Mignola. So being Halloween, I immediately picked this book up. I thought it would be something cool, some type of horror book I could read, pass on, but no way. I mean, I'm going to show you the inside of this, but I'm going to take care of this book. I don't think I'm going to read it. I think this is something that you definitely want to wait for the trade paperback to come out. There was a lot of dust on this that I managed to clean off a little bit. Just nothing major. Rudyard Kipling, right? This is from the world of the Jungle Book. Mowgli, I think that was the kid's name. So he's trying to deal with this horde of dogs, dozens of dogs that are going through the jungle, terrorizing other families of animals, like this pack of wolves that get invaded by them, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. I thought this was something like a Cujo, Red Dog, right? Looked like some indie comic. So there's this wolf that's barely survived being attacked. Now I was just fascinated by the artwork that just felt like a must have. Night music, by the way, night music, right? So it's his interpretations of operas that P. Craig Russell was incorporated in these eclipse stories that ran for 11 issues. He did The Magic Flute, A Reign of Bluebeard, did an interpretation of The Magic Flute, Salome. So P. Craig Russell used this night music title to do these interpretations of operas. That's most of the stories that you're going to get out of this night music series that lasted 11 issues. That's this series out of Eclipse that P. Craig Russell did the writing and art for. There's some indie goodness out of 1988. Michael Moorcock's The Chronicles of Corum. All right, so next up out of the 80s is 1987, January cover date for Chronicles of Corum, issue number 1. and Chronicles of Karam, issue number 12, which is out of November 1988. This ran for just 12 issues. The story by Michael Moorcock is interpreted by Mike Barron, and Mike Mignola does the covers and the interiors for the first 6 issues. He does the cover for issue number 12 here, but then there's a variety of artists that work on it. Kelly Jones does the inks, and Jill Thompson does the pencils and the interiors of issue number 12, for example. P. Craig Russell does the cover for number 11. See, now I wish I would have got it. Ken Hooper does the interiors for issue number 10 and number 9, as well as the cover. Kelly Jones doing the cover and interiors for issue number 8 of Michael Moorcock's Chronicles of Karam. The book Chronicles of Karam is an anthology of 3 previously published novels: The Bull and the Spear, The Oak and the Ram, and The Sword and the Stallion, 1973-1974. Heroic Fantasy Adventures by Michael Moorcock. So I'm collecting some really cool artists, some really amazing artwork just catching my eye. And then what happens? Bam! Shift gears, get me some first printings of Hate. There are a bunch of other Hate issues that were in the newly purchased bins. It's like a couple of card tables, rows of them at this point. The store is growing over at Vision Comics and Oddities, and all these newly purchased comics that are sorted by letter, and then there's another batch that are sorted entirely alphabetically. It's got like 2 waves of incoming comics of new buys, and these are the first prints of Hate that I found. Hate ran for 30 issues, so it's really hard to find first prints. Especially in this condition. Right? I gotta show off the white. So this is out of February 1992. A couple of guys living in the Northwest. Single, first time away from home. I think the background of the characters was that I think they might have spent some time in St. Paul for a minute and then ended up in Seattle. Yeah, Peter Bagg. In an interview, somebody asked if the main character in this, Buddy Bradley, I think the first 15 issues he's out west in the Northwest in Seattle, partying, dating girls, trying to find himself, not finding himself, whatever. And then the last 15 issues is Buddy Bradley back in New Jersey, living in the burbs. This guy right here. So Hate ran pretty much on a quarterly schedule. First started in 1990. Written, illustrated by Peter Bagg. And then this whole 30-issue series was followed by a Hate annual that came out in the year 2000. And then that's it. One time, this is per Peter Bagg, he was saying how one time during an interview he was asked a set of questions, and requested to answer in the voice of Buddy Bradley. Peter Bagg explained how it wasn't until he did this that he realized that Buddy's answers were exactly the same as they would have been if he had answered them with his regular voice. He said, "Yes, I am Buddy Bradley." Issue 9 out of May 1992. Issue 12, March 1993. Issue 13 out of July 1993. It's out of November 1993. And issue number 15 out of March 1993. Written, illustrated, inked, Peter Bagg, published by Fantagraphics Books. This is issue 15 out of 1993 with a cover price of $2.50. That's right. Next up, Barry Windsor Smith. Written and illustrated, Conan vs. Rune out of November 1995. This is actually published by Marvel. Second appearance of Papa Midnight. Hellblazer number 2. First printing right there. Out of February cover date 1988. Jamie Delano's story, John Ridgway illustrating. Out of Vertigo. I mean, check it out. It has the DC logo in the upper left corner, so not sure which issue started with the Vertigo brand. All right, how about a little intermission? If you remember from a couple vids ago, I was gunning for that Carl's Jr. Nathan Explosion little toy thingy. Well, I got 3. The guy at the checkout over at Carl's Jr. screwed up. Forgot he gave me one, so he gave me an extra one. He asked me, "Did I give you one?" I was like, no. So he threw me another one. So I got 2 for the price of 1. And this one I just bought individually. And then I got a meal. And then I ended up getting an extra one out of it. So I got my meal with my extra toy here. So I got 3 chances to get Nathan Explosion. What we got right here is Metalocalypse. Title is Death Clock. This is a 3-issue series. The A covers are by Eric Powell, and the B covers are by the co-writer John Schnepp. I don't know if you remember those Collider videos on YouTube. This guy's given celebrities tours of this comic book shop. I think the comic book shop is somewhere, probably off of Sunset Boulevard. It's in LA, and John Schnepp, he's known for doing this podcast. I never got into it, but I really liked the show that he had where he was giving celebs tours of Collider Extras is the YouTube channel. And you've got John Schnepp. He's with Jacob Batalon. It's the kid that's friends with Spider-Man and in the new Spider-Man movies. Probably ends up becoming Hobgoblin, I think. Ned Leeds. He's also given Frank Miller a tour. So yeah, John Schnepp, rest in peace. God bless. He did the B covers for this Death Clock series. And it kicks ass. There's also a Death Clock meets The Goon one shot. So the Death Clock's out of October 2010. These Carl Jr.'s are out of October 2021. And got it. Nice. Cool. Fucking kick ass.
Don't you take away my ability to have tantrums, alright? No! We're never tried before, so I need 100 beers. No matter what you do, no matter what you do with your life, you're dead. You're dead. You're dying. You're gonna die, all of you. You lady. Your tits will be eaten by maggots in a few short years.
All right, let's try this next one out and see what we got. Yeah! Woohoo!
So here's my message. My message to you. Very simple message. Go forth. Go forth and die. which is I think it's a candy bar. Isn't that right? It's a candy bar, right, Othello? Or is that nuts Nutella? That ain't a candy bar, that's a spread. Nathan explodes reading for Othello. That still sounds like food to me. Still sounds like a snack. Like, some kind of chocolatey snack. You know? Hell, me to come in here and do a third. Nathan explosion. Me reading.
As you can tell from the position of the Adult Swim promo toys, this channel is for adults only. As you can tell from the position of the Adult Swim promo toys, this channel is for 3 adults only. So happy Halloween, y'all. That's right. I got some Corbin goodness coming up next. So we had Devil's Night on the night of the 30th. Tonight is Halloween evening. By the time this video posts, it'll be November 1st, All Saints Day. The day many peoples go to church and then stop by, show honor to the graves of their loved ones. Leave a candle, say a prayer. Follow it up with the little Richard Corbin, If You Dare. Vertigo. Swamp Thing, issue number 7. Richard Corbin did a 2-issue stint, issue 7 and 8. It's out of November 2004 cover date. Written by Will Pfeiffer. Cover and interiors by Richard Corbin for Swamp Thing issue 7 and 8. Yeah. Why not? Swamp Thing number 7 out of 2004. Let's go ahead now, 8 years to March 2012. Ragemore, number 1 of 4. Like this castle coming alive. Not familiar with the story. Happy Halloween. Thank you so much for swinging by, sharing this time reviewing these comics with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave me some feedback. Let me know what you think about prices I paid. Any questions about the shops I go to? Any feedback is appreciated. It's 5 Edgar Allan Poe themed titled comic books out of Dark Horse from 2012 to 2014. This first one is out of 2012, written and drawn by Richard Corbin, interpreting Edgar Allan Poe's The Conqueror Worm. This happens to be the first appearance of Mag the Hag. It's out of November 2012 cover date. And these next two titles are out of 2013. The Fall of the House of Usher. Book 1 of 2, Book 2 of 2. Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. I look at on comicvine.gamespot.com. Mag the Hag. It says here her first appearance is Edgar Allan Poe's The Conqueror Worm, #1. So when I looked that up, that says it came out, cover date November 2012. And there she is. And then in here, The Raven and the Red Death does say October 2013. And there she is. So regardless, here we have Dark Horse Comics pushing some Richard Corbin, morose mayhem from the mind of Edgar Allan Poe. I got 2 more Dark Horse Richard Corbin, Edgar Allan Poe comic books. For your Halloween pleasure. Premature Burial is out of April 2014. Morella and the Murders in the Rue Morgue is out of June 2014. Richard Corbin, a happy Halloween. A happy Halloween. Richard Corbin. So every few months, the owner of Vision Comics and Oddities wants to publish a comic anthology. The first issue came out on Halloween last year, and then on Free Comic Book Day last August, he had issue #2. And Canales, AC Canales, he did the first story of that second issue with this protagonist here. She found some object that was streaming through the sky, and it went through this guy that was attacking her, killed him. She went to go check it out, and the object just happens to look like that. There's Chris Lanham, that's the owner, publisher. AC Canals, this intro story. Oh yeah, this guy's awesome. It's like a hitman. And of course, to capitalize on this, they got a sketch variant edition that is going to have all the creators autographed. Woo-hoo! That's right. Cauldron. To wrap up this Halloween evening. Your Halloween leisure is my pleasure. Cauldron #1. This one shot is out of October, cover date 1995. Glenn Fabry did a B cover for this, as a matter of fact. Steve Patrick Brown, the writer and illustrator, did this cover. It's just caught my eye. Don't know what it's about. I looked through it for a minute. Decided to go for it. Yeah, there's the center spread, right? A happy Halloween to you until we meet again. Happy All Saints Day. Hope you had a safe, eventful, scary, haunted weekend. Thank you for watching. Boo!